Welcome back to another banger at the Museum TV here at 336 Blue Hill Ave. Shout out to the Muse, shout out to the big homies who allow us to use this space. Today we got a very special episode. We're here with Brandon Tory, former Google AI, Apple engineer, founder of Share, Formless, Grammy nominated, multi-award winning songwriter. Appreciate you being here and taking the time to sit down with me.
I appreciate you. Quick correction. I'm not Grammy nominated, but I'm signed to Dallas Austin, who is Grammy award winning. So just a
Signed to Dallas Austin, who's a Grammy award winning. Let's get that correct. My first question, before we get into all the cool stuff, who were you growing up?
Man, it's a good question. So I grew up on Warren Ave in Brockton, rough neighborhood, but I was into technology. And so when I was 15, I lived in a shelter on 137 Newberry Street. And I essentially was surrounded by kids that was in the streets or in the hip hop. That was the language of the neighborhood. And I'm in the corner on the computer, hacking, learning technology and code. It was kind of my escape from a chaotic childhood. And I always used the word formless to describe myself, shape-shifting between those two different identities. And so that really has kind of been the theme of my whole life, being able to move in and out of these environments, use technology, but also the language of the culture to build things like the companies that you just mentioned, like Formless. And so I went on to become an engineer at Apple, at Google, the stuff that you mentioned, but always was connected to culture and hip hop.
Yeah.
And so that's been my life journey.
I can't imagine you being that young and learning how to hack. I mean, that's so cool. What reference point did you have? Magazines? Who'd you see do it?
For me, it was really the movies. So one of the crazy stories, when I was in the shelter, my man was watching Juice, right? So we each had different rooms. So my family was in one room, his family was in another room. And they'd be watching Juice, Belly, Boys in the Hood.
All the classics.
All the classics. Yo, B, come watch it. And I'm watching The Matrix. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you watching this? I'm like, I'm kind of into computers. You know what I'm saying? So that was my reference point. And in a lot of those movies, you got to remember, in the early 90s, computers weren't as prevalent as they are now. So I was trying to keep it a secret because you couldn't just say you was into tech in my neighborhood growing up.
You'd be a
Like, I don't understand what you're talking about.
You'd be a dork.
You'd be a dork, you know what I'm saying? So that was why I was like trying to figure out how to figure out who I really am in between these two worlds. So the references was really the movies, but then once I got into computers, it was just like, man, with all the stuff I'm going through in my childhood, I got this one place where I got full control. I can learn everything. I can explore this system. I can control this world. I can't control the world I'm in, but I can control this world. And so I became like obsessed with computers and really, really good when I was young.
Mm. So did you always feel like your path would be different from a traditional one?
I always thought I was gonna be special because my mother spoke that life into me. So my mother told me like, yo, you can do whatever you want. You're gifted. You're gonna be the most committed man of your generation. Like these things she was telling me, I'm looking at her like, I don't know
What you're talking about.
But then you start getting older and you start encountering situations. So I was telling you about raising our children. If you speak life into your children when they're kids, they may not understand it, but when they face a challenge, they'll fall back on that. They'll remember that.
You'll be the voice in their mind.
You'll be the voice in their mind. So my mother always gave me that. So I never thought I was gonna be average or mediocre. I always felt like, yo, there's nothing I can't achieve. And so, yeah, I always thought I'd be different. I always felt different.
When did you realize that you saw the world differently than most people? Because that's not an average perspective of the world to have.
Probably in high school, because in high school, in Brockton, I'm not sure what Boston is, but in Brockton, we had a program called the Talented and Gifted. And what that meant was like in a school that's predominantly Black, there's this one group that's all white. And like, I'm the only Black kid in that class.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Differentiation early.
Differentiation early, so where it's like something is different, but as a kid, you don't realize how systematically incorrect that is. You know what I'm saying? I get older and I'm like, well, that means that some opportunities I had weren't afforded to my friends because I was in this class.
The rest of them,
and they
actually.
weren't. So in the moment, you just feel different. You feel like, yo, I'm a unicorn. Then you get older, you're like, yo, that's a systematic structure that's problematic. You know what I'm saying? So it goes both ways because I did get an opportunity to get exposure to a good education, even within a rough neighborhood. But at the same time, looking back as an adult, I'm like, man, as parents, we got to advocate for our kids and make sure that our kids are getting access to the same resources.
Getting access into everything, the activities, the clubs,
available.
the scholarships.
Exactly. So So I felt different at an early age, you know, even in the 3rd or 4th grade, I got pulled out of class. Like, yo, you gotta come and do a special test here. So I always felt different. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
wow. They hit
I
you with
always
the
felt
gifted test, huh?
They hit me with that, but so I always felt different, but I never really put 2 and 2 together that there was a systematic thing also going on at the same time.
Right. So, how did you end up working at Google and in AI? Because, that's a huge jump from having some experience in high school, figuring out the ins and outs at the shelter, learning more about technology, and then jump into such a huge responsibility at a
Yeah.
Fortune 500 company is like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wild.
It's crazy. Most people think that, like, that was what I wanted to do. That was the furthest from what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. So I graduated from, University of Massachusetts. I got my degree in electrical engineering. And so I came home, I got my first job. 2 years in, I'm like, "Man, I feel like I can do so much more than this. You know, this job is kinda limiting." Granted, I learned a lot and I appreciate the people that I worked with, but at the same time, like, I feel like I'm capable of so much more. And so I said, "You know what? Imma move to Atlanta. Imma leave this job. Imma become an artist."
You had the courage to just leave like that.
Yeah, so I left that job, and I got some grace because for a while I was able to work part-time, but eventually I ended up leaving that job and just going to Atlanta
Mm.
and, to start this journey of becoming an artist. And I'll never forget, I convinced my fiance, I said, "Yo, let's get this truck." My grandfather helped me buy this Ford E250 beat up cargo van. We drive down, I'm on the highway, through Brockton. Car breaks down before we even get on 93 South.
Like
Car breaks down immediately. So I pull in the AutoZone. My man actually worked at AutoZone. He brings out the radiator fluid. He's like, "Yo, I'm gonna get you set up and then you be straight."
clutch.
This might make you to get you to DC.
Mm.
You have to bring it to another mechanic. At this point, I'm like, yo, I don't know if God is trying to tell me this is the
Should I
wrong
not
move.
go? Yeah.
But we end up making it to DC. We get the radio fixed. We get to Atlanta. We get to Atlanta. First night we're there, my man has scoped out an apartment because he already lived in Atlanta. We get to this apartment and I kid you not, roaches everywhere,
Mm.
hole in the ceiling. My girl gets there. She sits on the floor, just starts
No
crying.
way.
Just starts crying
Yeah,
immediately.
no
Like,
way.
yo, I can't believe that we did. Like, why would, what do you have me into? And so this was the beginning of me getting this job at Google.
No, because you gotta be in your mind like, "I just lost my girl. I just pulled up
My
to
fiance,
just I
right?
lost my girl."
So
Yeah.
as if that's not bad enough, she settles in, she gets her job, I'm working on music, I'm trying to figure out the game. One day, yo, I'm pregnant.
Ooh,
So I'm like, oh,
another hit. Just keep getting
it's
licks.
another joint where it's like, yo, maybe I gotta go home.
Yeah.
But I decided to stay. And so my son was born, Bruce, you know, Northside Hospital in Atlanta, biggest blessing in my life until my daughter was born. And and I learned so much in Atlanta. I was performing at Apache Cafe. I was moving all around the city. I was meeting all these great people, Rock City, even Ray Daniels. I met him when I was in Atlanta.
I
You know,
just was watching Ray Daniels today on YouTube.
yeah,
Yep.
legend. So Atlanta was kind of like where I first started to be kind of educated on what it meant to be an artist. But I met people that were so much more talented than me that it was a reality check. Like, yo, if you're gonna leave the crib and try to do this, you also have to understand the level, right?
Mm,
And so, scene two, my fiance is a little bit unhappy. She didn't really want to be in Atlanta. I said, let's try LA. So we moved to LA.
mm.
We get to LA. I start putting out music when I'm there, and I get discovered by Timbaland. So Timbaland discovers me through this song competition that I won. Boom, me and my man who I was working with in Atlanta, we end up in the studio with Tim and Hit Factory
Timbo.
in Miami.
Mm.
We get back. I get back to LA. 2 weeks after that, my man Fade, who came with me to the studio, he's also a Boston guy, Cambridge guy. We hear his record on Bryson Tiller. So we hear the Been That Way record from Bryson Tiller.
Oh, man, that's a hit.
Fade's like, yo, that's my beat. I'm like, is that one of the joints you sent to Tim? He's like, yeah, we called Tim. Or he's like, yeah, I got a place for you. Boom. So he gets the Bryson Tiller joint. Then he gets a Rihanna placement. Then I got Tim on FaceTime. I'm throwing parties in LA. I'm doing, like, it feels like, yo, we about to take off. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
You're living a real lifestyle.
And then I check my bank account one day and I'm negative.
Mm,
I got no bread.
mm.
Right? Like I was living the life and I was doing my thing in LA, but money-wise, it really wasn't working. So that's when I decided to get back into big tech.
Mhm.
And so I took a job at Apple as an engineer, and I was there for a number of years, and then I ended up joining Google AI after that.
How easy was it for you to get in that position considering your resume? Because, people watching this may not understand how hard it is to get into these companies.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
now, it's hard to even get a job. So for you at that time
So
to
for
get
me,
accepted?
as an artist, I was growing and I wasn't super confident.
Mm,
I was trying to figure it out. My man Fade was a He was an animal, incredible, best producer I ever met.
Mm.
That's why he deserved everything that he got. I was still trying to figure it out. But when it came to tech, I felt like nobody could touch me.
Mm.
So when I went to Apple, it was a challenge. It was like, you're telling me I can make this much money? All I gotta do is walk in there and write this code on the
Write this
board?
code.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go get that money, right? Same thing with Google. So that to me was always a challenge. Tech to me was almost like sports or athletics, right? I
So it
never
was
had
like you
any,
going to the games.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't feel like I have weaknesses there. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm perfect. There was
Mhm.
still a lot that I had to learn, but mentality wise, I was always ready to accept the challenge when it came to technology.
What was your experience like working at Apple? You can talk about the culture, you can talk about the responsibilities, you can talk
Yeah.
about the money.
Apple and Google are like polar opposites. So Apple, you think because it's such a creative powerhouse, right? Like we see all this amazing technology and design coming out of Apple, that it would be this creative company. But Apple was the most corporate company I've ever worked for.
Mm.
Corporate, secretive, NDA, no matter
Mhm.
like anywhere you go, buttoned up, glass windows, very, very, very professional. But what
Mhm.
Apple teaches you is the bar of excellence because Apple works on a certain time cadence. Every September or every fall, they do the Worldwide Developer Conference and they release a new iPhone. And that means they don't care about your life. They don't care about nothing
That
except
phone's coming
that
out.
phone's coming out. Have you accomplished what was necessary for the
I
phone to
don't
come?
care nothing about what you're talking
So
about.
people burn out at Apple really fast because that's the lifestyle. Like you have to adapt to that. But I would say to all the young entrepreneurs or people getting into business, don't look at that as a negative thing if you have a job like that, because that is what will train you. And then when you go and do your own thing, you'll take that same mentality. So at Apple, we'd be in a meeting and they'd say, okay, Brandon, we want you to contact so-and-so after this meeting. I said, okay, I'm on it. They said, no, no, no. Open the app that tracks the to-do and write that you're gonna do it at 12:15 after you leave this meeting.
Mm.
So I'm like, all right, bet. So I
All
opened
right,
the app and
cool.
wrote that. And then at the end of the week, they say, send us the list of every single task that you worked on for the last 4 days.
Mm.
Now, when you're at Apple, you're like, damn, I don't feel like this is crazy. But then I guarantee you, when you start your own company, that's how you're gonna wanna run it.
And that's how you're gonna tell people to
That's how
do
you're
it.
gonna run it.
Yeah.
So the minute I started building my own company and I started to see like, yo, things aren't really going as smooth as I want them to, I fell back to what I learned at Apple, right? So those things that you learn that feel uncomfortable become so valuable when you're trying to build your own thing.
So building the foundation always requires discipline, and discipline always requires you to be uncomfortable for you to be the best version of yourself.
I would say it requires a little bit of being uncomfortable, but more so it requires submission. You gotta
To the
submit to
process.
something. Yeah, like discipline means being a disciple. So you gotta have something that you are willing to be a disciple of.
Mm.
Right. So a lot of times we think of discipline as I'm going to hold myself accountable, but that's not the origin of the term. The origin of the term is I'm going to be somebody's disciple.
Right.
So if I'm at Apple, I got to learn the Apple way. So when I
Mhm.
leave, I could take that with me. Same thing with Google. I mean, Google was a completely different environment. Google, they had such a lead in technology and AI that it was much more lax. They were like, it's research, like whatever's the best idea wins. Like, you take your time, we'll figure it out, right? But you're working with some of the smartest people on the planet.
So you gotta be competent.
When I first got to Google AI in particular, I walked in there like, yo, I'm the best engineer in the world. Like thinking that, right? I walked into one of these meetings, and mind you, I never let anybody think that I didn't know what was going on. But there was a whole 30 minutes where I didn't understand a single word anybody said. It was literally like they were speaking Chinese, bro.
Mm.
It was all just mathematical terms and just different things. And it was like, oh, I bet I gotta go leave this meeting and go educate myself, right?
Mhm.
Scene two, I educated myself, and then next thing you know, I'm leading the pack at a certain point, right? But you have to submit to who is ahead of you and then have that discipline to learn what it is to get to the next level.
It must have felt like such a good moment though when you went back in that meeting like, "Oh yeah, I'm the one."
It took some time. It felt amazing, but it took some time. That was like me growing out my beard to like here, like
Yeah.
staying up till 12:30 or 1 o'clock every single night until I was like, one of the top
Dedication,
guys. Yeah,
dedication.
dedication. Yeah.
What's something about big tech that most people get completely wrong?
Oh man. I think people think that you can it's tough to say. I think people think tech is a lot simpler than it is.
Mm.
So a lot of times people will come to me with tech ideas like, hey, can you help me build this app? Can you help me build this website? And I
Mhm,
say, okay, cool. Tell me what you want to build.
mhm,
And they'll go on and describe it.
mm,
And I'll say, okay, so how long, when do you want to launch this thing? They'll be like, well, I'm trying to launch it this, next month.
mm,
And I'm like, you don't understand that what you just described to me is the equivalent of the Golden Gate Bridge.
mhm.
Like the amount, like it seems simple, but this is the Golden Gate Bridge, right?
Mhm,
So you don't have $13 million. Now, granted, AI has made this process way faster and way more efficient, which is fantastic. But the general public doesn't understand that some of these products that we're trying to create have 10,000 people working on them every single day.
mm,
It's a community effort, right? And so that's why you see so many projects in tech that are unfinished. That's why you see so many things that are, oh, this is a great demo and I'm excited about it, but it never actually becomes a robust, hard product like the Golden Gate Bridge where you could actually drive over that thing and it's not going to kill everybody, right?
right.
So that's the biggest
That was a
misconception in
completed
tech. It's
project.
a completed project, but
Mhm,
people don't know that the Golden Gate Bridge took like 10 years just to plan,
mm,
not to build it, just to plan it. Then they built it,
mm.
right? So tech is similar in that way. Now, granted, it's a lot faster now because of AI. But I think what people need to understand is what you want to start with is something very small that you can dominate and master. And then everything else comes over time. It comes through what they call a roadmap, where you say, okay, now in 3 months, I'm going to add this thing. 3 months, I'm going to add that thing. You look back over 5 years, now you have this really important big tech product. But it doesn't happen as fast as I think people want it to.
What risks did you take early on that people don't see? Because, risk taking is invisible the same way the work is invisible.
Yeah.
So,
I
you
took a lot of risks. I mean, I left my first job straight out of college and then moved to Atlanta. Then I had a kid. I decided to double down and move to LA. The most recent biggest risk that, I mean, to me, it didn't feel that risky, but a lot of people would probably consider risky was leaving Google. So I was a full-time engineer at Google, level 6 staff engineer. That's very rare.
explain what that means, level 6
Yeah.
staff
So
engineer.
in the engineering ladder, you have junior engineer, senior engineer, staff engineer.
Mm,
So it's like staff sergeant, right? So I'm staff engineer. I'm managing a team. I have people that report to me that are PhDs, right? And so I've built up this identity, right? And like I loved my team at Google. Like it wasn't like I walked into Google and thought, oh, I hate this. It was like, nah, I love this job. And like I'm working with MIT, PhD, excellent engineers, right? And then one day I'm like, I think I'm gonna quit and start my own company, right? That sounds
that's
crazy.
the download. God was like, "All right, Brandon, enough.
That
Come
sounds
on."
crazy. I mean, and I'm making a lot of money at Google, like between stocks and cash. It's serious money. So this is another situation when my wife is looking at me like,
Another
"We're
one. I
gonna do
thought we
this
was
again?
good.
This again?"
I thought you left this in the past when we went to LA and the roaches, and you still doing this?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that was probably the biggest risk. But
Well, that's why she's with you though. You're a winner, bro. You take risks and
no,
you
I
gamble on
appreciate that.
yourself.
I appreciate that. But so one time I was in LA and I have a business partner named Dan Pearson. Super ill dude.
Shout out Dan.
Dan Pearson. Yeah, he's in his 60s, Brooklyn guy. Came up in the mafia in Brooklyn with a black dude. And, he tells me that y'all want to introduce you to Clarence Avant. Clarence Avant's the Black Godfather. You ever seen the joint on
That's
Netflix, right?
different. I know who Lavon is.
So
Yeah.
he passed away a couple of years ago, but he ended up setting up the meeting. So I get a meeting with me, Dan, and Clarence Avant at the
Be real. You
Palm.
scared, right? You scared a little bit?
Nah, because I'm with Dan, right?
He just played it off. All right.
So we sitting at the Palm, and I'm, we're talking to Clarence. I tell him my story, and he goes, "So you doing all this tech stuff, and you want to be a singer?" Because I was telling him about my artistry.
Yeah, he's like, he's
He's like, "What you
dumbfounded.
want to do that for? Like, you already doing the tech and all." I'm like, "Yeah, but like, I feel like I'm capable of so much more." Da da da. He's like, "All right, well, listen, man. At the end of the day, life is about numbers. If you can get the numbers popping, you can do whatever you want to do." And then he said, "But whatever you do, believe in you." So I left it me and thinking like, I'm not sure what he's trying to tell me. On the
Uh-huh.
one, he's saying like, yo, the numbers don't add up, don't make the move. But then he's saying believe in you, which is kind of like the numbers don't really matter because I believe in myself.
Mhm.
So when I decided to leave Google, I remembered that conversation. It was like, yo, believe in you. And it was like, all right, I'm making a lot of money here. I understand that, but I do believe I'm capable of more.
Mm.
Right. And so I put together a plan and then I decided to leave.
what did that feel like, not only getting wisdom and guidance from the Black Godfather, but to be able to have a conversation with a man who had been through life himself
Mhm.
and saw you maybe as an equal or as a peer and said, "Hey, you've got this."
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he saw me more so as a mentee, right? As a younger
A
guy,
disciple.
yeah, disciple almost. I think for Clarence in that moment, he had already accomplished everything. And what's interesting is what a lot of people don't recognize in our world of being an entrepreneur or creative is there's something about that older generation that they will give you so much information because they really don't have nothing to lose. So Clarence is like, yo, I'm on my way out. What I got? I'm gonna tell you the truth. What do you want to know?
Yeah, there's no gatekeep from him.
No gig. I'm gonna tell you whatever you want to know. Whoever you want to meet, whatever. Like, let's you got me for this lunch. Let's talk, right? So, what's fascinating is there's this whole process of maturity
Hmm.
that we all go through. So in that meeting, I really didn't understand what he was talking about. I'm just listening, like, all right, well, I
Yeah,
guess, right?
I'll get it when I get it.
But then what happens is you start to encounter situations. It's like what I said about when you speak life into your children. You start to encounter situations where you're like, oh, that's what he was trying to tell me.
Mm,
That's what he was trying to say, right?
mm.
So in the moment, it didn't really feel all that impactful. When it felt impactful was when I started to encounter these situations. Yo, should I leave Google? Believe in you. You see what I'm
And
saying?
here goes that echo
You
again
see
in
what
the
I'm
in the
saying?
in the voice. You're just speaking life into people, speaking life into
Speaking
yourself.
life into people.
So, for someone hearing about this for the first time, what is share?
So Share was really built out of the problem I faced myself as an artist.
Mm.
So when I was in LA, I spent a lot of money to create music and to promote music. So I had a song called Swish. It had 1 million streams on Spotify. I had about 100,000 monthly listeners. Swish right now has 297,000 plays on SoundCloud.
By
Right?
the way, I was listening to your shit on the way here. I'm like, this is spoken word magic. You
Thank
can
you,
do a little magic. You can do a
thank you,
lot with
thank you.
this.
I took all my music off Spotify, so most of my stuff not
Apple
out
Music.
anymore. Oh, you saw it? Nah, I think it's off there too.
It is?
I gotta double check. Let me double check. But anyway, long story short, I took all my stuff off streaming. Or I tried to, at least, right? And and when I'm in LA, I'm promoting all these records, I'm getting all these streams and stuff. But like I said, I'm not really making any money.
Right.
And not only that, the algorithm keeps changing on social media. So it's
Yeah.
like, yo, I can't reach my fans. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of bleeding out in terms of spending all this money on promo. And and so I built Share out of that need. Can we help artists make more money? Can we help artists build direct relationships with their fans? But the thing that makes us different than any other platform is can we help artists put fans on their team so the fans make money too?
Oh,
So
that's good.
that's the key thing, right? There's a
Mhm.
lot of platforms that allow you to go direct to consumer, but Share is the only platform where you can make more money and your fans can make money with you.
So basically, what you're saying is not only are you solving the problem of being able to make money from your own music, you're also making fan engagement
Exactly.
an integral part of the process. So it enriches you and it enriches their experience with you because they're
Yeah.
getting to connect with you
Yeah, because
as an audience.
my whole thing is this, like the music industry is kind of burning down right now. A
Yeah.
lot of people trying to figure out what to do without the label system. And when I think back, the most influential people in my music career were fans. Like I would meet a guy on SoundCloud and he'd be like, yo, I love your music so much, I'm gonna pay for your studio time.
Mm,
Fly out to LA, book the SLS hotel, got the Maserati, like, yo, let's pull it. I'm like, I just
that
met you on
actually
SoundCloud
happens.
yesterday. That actually happened. That actually happened, right? There were so many instances where somebody just found my music and was like, yo, I just love the music. Like, what can we do together?
You move them.
Where you start to understand that, like, oh, this is the team. That
Mhm.
you think they're your fans, but they're really your team.
Team.
Until you reach a certain level. Once you got millions of fans, then okay, then they're really fans. But in the beginning, what people don't understand is that group of people that really, really loves you, that's your initial team.
That makes me think of when an artist is on stage and they're calling out to the crowd and the crowd's talking back to them or the crowd's learning the lyrics to their song,
Yeah.
that's like a good representation of, okay, teammate, bounce off me, give
Correct.
me energy,
Correct.
get me hype.
And they're the ones telling you if it's a hit record.
Right.
Like if you got let's say you got 100 fans and you just think of them as, oh, they're just my fans, right? Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but imagine if you go a step further and think of it as this is interactive and they're actually part of my team, what their opinion matters. Now you're getting data. Now you're getting information as to like, oh, this record didn't really slap when I performed it. like they were trying to help, but like it didn't really work. And then you test another one, right? And now you start understanding what's working within that microcosm, and then you scale. Then you scale that to
Mm.
the next level.
So, what makes your approach different from everything else out there? Obviously, that was an amazing pitch for Cher. I mean,
Thank
I'm
you.
not an artist, and I'm convinced. I'm like, how can we make some money? But what makes your approach different?
Yeah,
Tell us about Cher's differentiation from the other vultures out there that are seeking to take the artist's
yeah.
money.
I mean, the biggest difference between Cher is that I'm an artist myself. And because I'm an artist myself, I'm kind of building it based on what I would want to see.
Also, it's a direct experience and a perspective from an artist's perspective, not some exec
Yeah, most
lording over
most
you.
other platforms, they have artists involved. There's artists that are, on the advisory board or they might have some equity, but Share is the only platform where it's like, yo, I am an artist. My first investor was Dallas Austin, who's a Grammy Award winner, like we talked about. He sold 100 million records. We sat down and said, yo, what's the platform that we want to see? We don't got to ask nobody's permission. Let's just build a platform we actually want.
Right,
And so that's where you get these decisions like, well, the fans should make money too. Or like we
right.
should be able to set the price to whatever we want to set the price to. Or like we should have access to the data or it should be on blockchain. It should all these different things that we want.
Mm.
Let's just make it the way we want. It's the same thing when we throw our own parties, when we do our own fashion. It's like, let's make it the way we want versus going to another platform where we got to keep saying, hey, we would like for you to change this.
Asking for permission.
That's what I'm saying. No more permission.
Who is Share really for? Does it have a targeted demographic? Is there an age range?
Mm.
Who is it for?
Shares for independent artists, first and foremost. I would say, of course, I'm a hip hop guy, but I really am excited about faith-based music. I'm really excited about electronic music. I'm excited about younger guys. I'm excited and women. I'm excited about different countries, right? South America, Nigeria, Africa,
All over the world.
all over the world. That's the other thing a lot of people don't realize about music is
It's universal.
it's universal and it's global and different people have different behaviors in different markets, right? So like in the States, you might say, well, who would ever buy music? But then you might go to South America and like people are buying music. Or you might go, like I was in Japan over the summer and like the line was around the block to get into the record store to purchase
To
physical music.
purchase records. Even here now, there's artists, there's producers like Diva Genius. He's selling, vinyls and people are buying it because they value his art.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's coming back.
What's been the hardest part of building it so far? Because I know it's not all peaches and cream.
Right.
Being a business owner, a CEO, a founder, having investors or a partner
Yeah.
to stay aligned with is like quite literally harder than a job, harder than Google.
So I got this concept called Shark Life. And I was at this
It's funny because
school.
let me just let you know, shark means something else to the younger kids now. Sharking is like picking up, seducing girls when
Oh,
you're
isn't that
sharking.
what it means?
So go ahead though. I'm just letting you know.
But that's not the way I meant it, but that's a guess. Thank you for letting me know.
I got you.
So, yeah, I went to this business school that one of my investors put on, called A16Z Crypto School,
Mm.
and they had Brian Armstrong, who's the CEO of Coinbase, come, and we asked him, what's the biggest advice you got for people building a business? And he said, "Be like a shark, don't die. Just
Ooh.
keep swimming and
Survive,
don't die. Just
survive, longevity.
And he's like, everybody's looking for like, what's the secret? What's the hint? The only hint is don't die.
Mm.
And so, literally, that has been my life. It's been like, yo,
Survive.
survive. I might have to raise 350,000 this year. I might have to raise 1.6 million the next year. I might have to scale down the team for a little bit. I might have to bring the team back by any means necessary.
Mhm.
You just keep building, keep building, keep building until you own the platform.
Mm.
And that's the hardest part because it takes a lot of conviction to not abandon something when it's taken a really long time.
And to be continuously persistent when you're not seeing the outcome. Like people are
The
outcome
immediate
dependent.
Exactly, exactly.
Where's the money? Where's the progress? Where's the fame? Where's the attention? Where's the recognition? Where? And it's like it doesn't come.
Well, I would break it into multiple parts. So you absolutely have to have projections and you have to have results.
Mm-hmm.
So every year, it should never be the case that you're saying, well, I don't know when it's going to come and I don't know where it is. It's that I know. You may not know.
You have to trust me
But
to know.
but I also know that it's going to take longer than everybody wants it to take.
Mm.
And so there's an amount of conviction that you have to have, right? You have to be able to say, even though I look crazy for 5 years, for 10 years,
It's gonna work.
I'm gonna keep saying the same thing over and over and over and over until the market is ready for what it is that I'm saying.
They do say that you have to be insane to be normal because the things that will fulfill you,
Yeah.
are insane to people.
So Dallas Austin, who's like one of my favorite people in the music business. He produced 4 or 5 Seconds for Kanye. I think he wrote 4 or 5 Seconds for Kanye. He did
That's
some of
big.
Gwen Stefani's biggest records, Michael Jackson's biggest records. Like he's legendary producer.
Dude.
TLC. So this is like my right hand man in terms of like an investor, a partner from the investment side on Share. And also, of course, my co-founder Jason was my day one.
Shout out Jason.
Shout out Jason. But Dallas told me something that I'll never forget. He said, "Yo, Big, I used to always be 10 years ahead. When I was your age, I was always 10 years ahead. And I thought it was so cool."
Hmm.
And then one day I learned that being ahead is not how you win. Sometimes you gotta run back and say what you were saying 10 years ago. You gotta say it now. Because it might take 10 years for the world to catch up to what you're trying to say.
That was what you were saying 10
That you
years
feel
ago.
like it's old.
Yeah.
So a lot of times as creatives, as entrepreneurs, we get this tendency to be like,
I've been doing it.
I've been saying this, people ain't getting it, I'm gonna pivot to the next thing. You pivot to the next thing, and then when you're doing the next thing, you look over and you see the rest of the world saying the thing you were saying 5 years ago, and you like, now you're angry. Because like, I was saying that 5 years ago.
And then you immediately,
Okay, you should have stayed there.
you should have stayed there.
You should have stayed there until the world caught up. That's what he told me.
Oh man, that's so tough, man. I think a lot of people probably just resonated with that. People who have been preaching this one thing,
Right.
and when they finally moved on
They
and saw the
moved on and
world
the rest
do,
of the world
they're
caught
like,
up.
they're fuming. You just made them mad again.
I know
Brandon.
that feeling.
So I want to pivot a little bit and ask about Boston.
Yeah.
How can Boston artists, creatives, how can they tap in with Share? And what is the benefit for them to do it? Because a lot of them are rooted in this belief that it's labels, it's a big advance, it's the right manager,
Right.
when really it's just the infrastructure to be their own boss is
Right.
what you're giving them.
Right.
So how can Boston artists tap into this this market, and why should they leave their culture for Share's culture
I don't
of
think
empowering the artists?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think that the Share culture is really all that new. I think that what artists today need to do is study history. Look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z's my favorite rapper. Jay-Z was 26 years old when he put out Reasonable Doubt. He had a chief marketing officer. He had executives around. He made his friends into executives. He started his own business. It's the same thing now, right? Now, of course, he tried to get the label deal and ended up getting rejected, and that's what forced him to kind of put this structure around. But to me, when I was 26, I wasn't even thinking about setting up a business structure or any of those things. So it's really just going back and looking and saying, okay, what do we do as the next generation to become the owners of this thing, not the signees? Like when I was coming up, I was so excited. Like, I just want to get signed. Do anything to get signed. Let me get this distribution deal.
That's how a lot of people
Let me
are.
get into this label. I took meetings with Interscope, took meetings with anybody I could. Like, I'm just trying to get signed, right? And then like I look back and I'm like, well, I mean, I got way more money from venture capital than I would have got from a record deal.
It was a blessing.
It was a blessing, right? What I would tell the next generation is, it's not that you don't need a label. It's not that you don't need a manager. It's that you should be the label. You should be the manager. You should be the business.
Focus on ownership.
Focus on ownership, right? Like the label is probably you, yeah, man, so-and-so who you met who's like really good at marketing. And it's like, yo, let's go win, right? Look at LVRN. Like some of the biggest names in music right now are people that started their own thing and they own it. So to me, it's just ownership. And Share really just fits in line with that. That's all Share is. Share is saying own your distribution. Because if you're building a business as an artist and you're not owning your fan data, you're not selling direct to consumer, you can wake up 5 years from now, get ready to put your project out and realize, damn, the algorithm changed. I can't even reach 5 people. I can't even get 50 people to pull up to the show. I've been making music for 10 years. That's crazy.
Yeah,
you know how many people I know that happens to? People that want to put out music, they got incredible music, they've done massive shows, they've done all this incredible work, but because we don't own our distribution, we got to ask for permission to reach the audience. That's got to stop. That's got to stop.
And so aligning with Share will empower artists to be able to take control of that distribution. So I want to pivot to what is Formless and how does it connect to everything you're building? Because it's not only Share, that you're a part of, it's also Formless. So that's two different businesses.
Yeah, so Formless is really my parent company. So that's the company that I established with my co-founder Jason and my wife Bisha. And that's almost like the Louis Vuitton of like the sub fashion brands that would be within that. So Formless is my big tech company brand, which is like my baby, and the Share is actually the first product that we built out of Formless.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes more sense. So
Yeah.
the parent company is Formless, and then Share is the service or the product that you're
Exactly.
providing to the people.
Exactly.
What does illuminating purpose through technology actually mean to you? I remember,
Yeah.
surfing your page, and that's on there.
Yeah.
So that's like, to me, I see it as a mission statement.
Disagree. It's fantastic. So it's a fantastic question. So when I was at Apple, I had this tagline: "Music is software." So I was trying to get, because I'm an engineer, but I'm also a musician. I kept trying to
That's
get people to
cold.
understand like music and technology are really the same thing.
Mm.
Like when I'm writing code, it feels the same as when I'm making music. They feel like the same thing. So my man Rashad, who also helped me build Formless, he was my chief people officer. At one point he was serving in that role, and he's Mattapan guy, brilliant dude. Calls me one day, "Yo, B, we gotta change the vision statement." "What are you talking about? Music and software is perfect." Nobody understands what you're talking about. I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Nobody understands what you're talking about, man.
Simplify.
We gotta make something a little more clear." I'm like, "All right, fine." So I gotta fire this guy.
Low key, the thoughts always creep in.
But no, so he encouraged me to think about something that's a little bit more accessible. So at that time, I'm working at Google AI. They gave us an internal preview of the first LLM. So LLMs are like ChatGPT,
Large language models.
Claude language models. So I get a preview of this in 2020 during COVID, way before ChatGPT.
You got a preview of LLM in 2020?
Yes, I was on the team that was building LLMs at Google.
See, that's what being a part of the tech giants is. You get to see stuff.
So my manager Greg goes, "Look, if anybody wants to check this out, we got an early pre-release link. Check it out." I'm like, "All right, cool." I go on that thing that night and I start typing, and I'm like, "Yo, the whole world's this is gonna be crazy.
This is gonna mess
This
the
is
world
like
up.
Star Wars. I can't believe I'm talking to, like, it's talking."
Mm-hmm.
And I start thinking about like, yo, what is the purpose of humanity? Like if this can do all of this, what does it mean to be human? And so I started thinking about that vision statement of, I really, of course, I want to build multiple products. I want to do fashion, I want to do music, I want to do all these things. But the vision that the true north is, can we reveal or can we illuminate whatever the true purpose is of being human through the technology, right? And so, one of the earliest glimpses of that is like sharing experiences. That's why it's called Share, right? If one of the purposes of being human is the fact that like, yo, a robot will never know what it is to be human. So the fact we share that experience of being human,
that automatically differentiates us from
us.
something that isn't sentient.
Exactly.
And that's the first product.
That's the first
So
product.
now you can have a serialized number of products
Exactly.
that remind people what it means to be human,
What it means to be
while
human.
also servicing them and making something on the back end. That's cold.
Right. So
I've
like,
never heard a business model like that ever.
That shared experience of like, yo, let's make money together. Let's let the fan feel what it feels like to be me.
You might have them knocking at your door.
You know what I'm saying?
In a couple of years. I'm not gonna lie.
That was the whole idea of just let's use tech to remember what it is to be human. And there's something about that feeling of when I make money and my fans hit me like, yo, I just got paid too.
Ooh.
Which is crazy.
It's euphoria. It's better than making money.
Than me making money.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It's better than just making money when they make money.
That's what Share's about.
How can creators stay aligned with purpose in a space driven by trends?
So a lot of people say the secret to success is consistency. And I do think consistency is extremely important. But to align with purpose, you got to have your values before you get consistent. Because if your values are all messed up, then you can consistently destroy your brand. You can be consistent in something that's the wrong direction. So you want to get to a point where you know yourself well enough and we got some good people around you who can tell you like, yeah, you really are who you say you are. And like, here's where you shine. And then make sure you have some core values. And then once you have that, consistently put that out into the world, right? And that will align you with purpose. So like for me, like I look back a lot of my early music when I was still just trying to figure out who I am. And like I can appreciate it to an extent, but I also recognize like, I wasn't really mature when I was making this stuff.
You're saying whatever, huh?
Yeah, I was saying whatever. I didn't really care what the implications were. And then you get a little bit older, a little bit more mature. You start saying, you know what, I actually want my words to mean something. I want my words to point in a certain direction. Even if it is a fun record, I still wanted to hold my values and my character, right? So that's something I would tell the next generation of artists, right? For certain artists, it's like, too late. You already made what you made. You can't look back. I wouldn't say you got to change anything, but like for the next generation, be mindful of your words because words
They
are
carry life or
way more
death.
powerful than people think. The Bible says the word is the sword. So like you can change the world just off your words.
Yeah, I mean, that's life or death in the words, man.
Yeah.
What are most creators doing wrong when it comes to monetization, and how can they improve?
I think the thing most creators are doing wrong is they think it's kind of like basketball. When you're growing up watching basketball, you see Mike or Kobe play, and you try to copy what Mike and Kobe are doing.
Then you realize you can't do what Mike
And
and
then you
Kobe are
realize
doing.
that copying what they're doing in the game is not the same as copying the journey that they took,
Mm.
right? So, like, as an artist, it's like, okay, I want to roll this out the same way Clips rolled out their joint. But that's not how you actually learn from or replicate Clips. You would have to go back and look at what Clips' journey was to get to that point. So, like, you may want to be on Rap Caviar in your first drop, but it might not make sense. What might make a lot more sense is to do a direct-to-consumer drop right now with 100 fans, make that money, then do the next thing, then
Build the trust
invest,
first.
build one step at a time, right? And also, we have to stop playing by the rules that are created by the platform. So,
Right, because we don't have any rules to creating.
so check this. This is what I mean, right? When I was putting out music full time, I would get 100,000 plays and be like, that was a failure
Mm,
because it wasn't a million.
mm,
So what happens is the platform conditions us to be like, this isn't working
mhm.
because they made up what numbers are success and what numbers are not success.
Which are million and million plus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the minute you start saying like, actually, I'm gonna define what success is for myself. Like, yo, some of the artists that get me the most inspired, I don't know if you ever seen this, but some of the young dudes who's like, yo, I just got 500 plays, bro.
Yeah.
I just got 500 plays.
And everybody's looking at him like, it's 500. Like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
500 people
Like,
playing my
no.
song.
And my generation be like, 500 plays? I wouldn't even say that out loud. But he's like, yo, I'm 14, I just got 500 plays today, dog. You crazy? And you start realizing like, yo, that's a revolution. That's how
Right.
you reprogram the system. The minute you start saying that what you're doing is success,
Right.
then you can reprogram the game. So that's the thing that I think a lot of artists miss.
Right, and you mentioned something poignant there where you're saying, don't try to copy what Mike and Kobe did, copy their journey. Maybe do some creative moves that they did in their past,
Exactly.
but don't try to be like them. And I want to ask you about LaRussell, where he was also mentioning that idea where fan engagement is the most important.
Yep.
Fans fund your pockets. Fans are the ones who, at a show of 100 people, are going to
Yep.
rock with you when you finally get to 100,000.
Yep.
Do you feel like he took inspiration from what you did? And do you think that there's people out there watching what you're doing and taking inspiration from it to go ahead and create their own?
Yeah. Shout out LaRussell. No, I don't think LaRussell was inspired by me. LaRussell was doing the revenue share model before share was out.
Yeah.
But what people need to understand is there's a history of that idea that precedes LaRussell or anybody else. There's a platform called Sound Exchange where you can invest in royalties, right? I think we're all familiar with Tory Lanez in 2021 when he did the NFT
Which
drop.
is why they took care of him.
Right.
$1 million
That's why a lot of people
in a
think that
minute.
a lot of people think he's down right now. But so the idea is not really a new idea, right? Like it's been around for a long time. Because you got to remember, all ideas, like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun.
So all we're really seeing right now is the same problem we've experienced when it comes to capitalism more broadly. We're now seeing that as a microcosm within music.
Because we're the microcosm of the macro.
We're the microcosm of the macro, right? So in systems like this, you have what's called a power law distribution, which means like if you were to look at a curve, you would see 1% of people are getting all the value and then 99% of people are not.
Flat line, yeah.
Right. And like in the beginning of hip hop, it might not have been so much of a power law distribution, but over time it starts to become the same thing as every other capitalistic system. And so the way that you solve that is you decentralize. So you create teams. Right.
By creating your new system.
You give away ownership so that more people are actually incentivized with you. This is what happens in the stock market. If you look at the stock market, right?
You give people options.
You give people options.
Yeah, so you tell them, hey, instead of giving you 600,000 up front, if I give you 600,000 worth of options, you now have 600,000 worth of options and you can borrow against it.
You have equity. right? And so this works for employees. You get stock grants to join the company. This works to get the consumer, the general public, to be interested in your company. And so all we're seeing in music is that people are just putting two and two together to say like, well, wouldn't that be great if I could do? That's why Lil Baby saying stuff like, yo, I want to do an IPO on myself as an artist. So the idea is coming from a place that we've already seen the solution to this in other places. One of the biggest issues is that it's illegal, right? Like that's called a security. So if you try to get people to invest in you as an artist and it's not regulated, then that would be a securities violation. So the idea is, how do you get the same benefits of this team dynamic, but in a way that makes sense, right? And so that's why with Share, we actually don't have fans investing in artists or buying shares. It's free. So what we say is, like Ajari's a Mattapan artist who's using
Yeah,
Share.
Ajari created that label, Ethereal Visions.
Yeah, and 5,000. Ethereal Visions and 5,000.
Yep.
So shout out Ajari. He put his album on Share. Free fractional ownership share.
Ajari got his joint on Share.
He said, yo, I got 50 free ownership shares. I'm not charging you nothing. Just hit the link. First 50 fans to get in is going to make money with me. So now his top 50 fans, they all raced to get in. They got shares, and then he started making bread on Share because people were buying the album. Right?
Yo, that's cold,
It's
bro.
fire. And he don't have to ask anybody.
He don't have to ask nobody. He just he can have the people who want to gravitate towards him have a good experience and fund him because he deserves it and they deserve it.
Exactly.
Yo, I mean, what you're doing is revolutionary. Understand that you're pushing the needle forward. And this is what Boss has been looking for in terms of infrastructure. So promote, market, get a street team, do whatever you have to do. Because people need to know about this. All the Boston artists, please get on Share. Hit up my man Brandon. If someone was starting from zero today, what should they focus on first? Now it's time to give them some game.
What are they trying to do? What are they trying to achieve?
Let's say they're trying to start their very first company. You obviously are specialized in the tech field, but if you can tell someone starting from zero today, hey, Brandon, you inspired me. I look up to you. You're successful. Can you tell me what would I have to start doing first if I want to eventually have my own company someday?
So the biggest problem entrepreneurs have from our community is they mistake their problem from the customer's problem.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what we try to do is we take the biggest problem we have
and try to sell it.
and try to build a business around it.
Yeah, that's so selfish. The most selfish way to start a business, right?
But it's okay. I mean, you can see why this happens. We have so many problems in our community and our different things we came up around that we saw. We want to solve these issues. A lot of people I talk to, they have philanthropic goals, like, y'all just want to give back, so I'm gonna start this business so I can help people. And that rarely works. What works a lot better is if you can identify the very specific one problem that your customer's actually having, right? And solve that. And then they'll take care of you, and then you can take the resources from solving that problem and solve some of your problem, right? So for me, that was one of the biggest unlocks, because you can go through your whole career not realizing that the problem you're trying to solve is a personal problem. You know what I mean? Like it might be the only reason you're even rapping is because you're trying to work through something with your identity versus there being a market for the type of music that you're making. Right. And that's okay if your goal is not business, but if your goal is business, there has to be a market for what you're doing.
Right. Otherwise you're fighting against yourself.
And again, that's okay. It's okay to say, no, I don't make music for business. That's okay.
I want to do it purely for the art, but just make sure it's for that reason.
That's for that reason.
Because otherwise you're going to end up complaining later.
You're going to have a lot of frustration. And it's the same thing with business. So if you're going to do something philanthropic, if you're going to do something for the community, all those things are cool, but let it be what it is. If you're going to start a business, you got to figure out what's the business model and who's going to pay for it. And that typically means you're solving somebody else's problem, not yours.
I mean, I think you just answered my next question. I was going to tell you, what's an opportunity people are overlooking right now? And you kind of just basically said, identify a specific niche problem and create a product or a service to solve that, and you can immediately start making money. Because that is what a business is, just helping people. So what separates people who succeed from those who stay stuck? And I know right now you're also an artist while being a founder, so you can apply that question to your career.
So let me take one step back because you asked another good question right before that. You had
Yeah,
said
what's an opportunity people are
opportunity people
overlooking right
overlooking. Yeah,
now?
the biggest opportunity people are overlooking right now is boring businesses. There's a lot of boring businesses that nobody wants to pay attention to because we all want to start our new fashion line. We all want to start our new music label. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. Those things are great, but you can make a lot of money off of boring garbage disposal services, cleaning services, bringing modern technology into those worlds. You start going to your family and looking around like, yo, who in my family already has a business?
Mhm,
Oh, I got a business. Okay, have you applied AI to that business yet? No. Let me help you apply AI to that business. Let's just make more money in that business. Because the hardest thing about business is figuring out a model that makes money.
mm,
If you know somebody in your family that's already figured out that part, and then you can bring the latest technology to them,
mm,
that is the most overlooked opportunity in business, right? You don't have to build a tech business to use tech in a business.
mm.
That's the biggest overlooked opportunity. The second thing you asked?
Mhm. And the second one was, what separates people who succeed from those who stay stuck? But I think you had answered that when earlier you said it's a mixture and a component of, being persistent, being willing to stick with an idea when everybody else, can't see the vision,
Mhm.
willing to take risks. And then once you have all those people around you reminding you you're doing the right thing, just putting out so much work that eventually people catch up and
Mhm.
things work out. So I wanted to say, tell the people where they can find you,
Yep.
how they can immediately start getting into share, how immediately start getting into the products and the services that you provide. How do they get involved? Where do they find you?
Yep. Before I do that, I want to answer that because I actually have a different take on that.
For
That last
sure.
question you asked about what separates
People who stay stuck and people who succeed.
people who succeed, right? Uh, People who stay stuck typically are overly dependent on the data from somebody else already doing it.
Mm,
So at some point, you're gonna have to step out on faith, right? Faith has been a huge part of my journey, and faith is what creates the data for the next person, right? So that's a big part of it. That being said, after you step out on faith, you have to have people around you who will tell you the truth because it's great to have delusional self-belief to get started, but to finish, you're gonna need to make sure that you got an accurate compass to make sure you're going the right way, navigating the right way. So I would say it's the faith and then just listening to people who are telling you the truth. In terms of where people can find me, I'm on social media, Brandon Tory, BrandonTory, and
yeah,
share
go
dot
rush that.
stream, share dot stream for the streaming platform, Formless.xyz for the company.
Yeah, easy to find, guys. Go rush that. You know what I mean? He's really giving ownership back to every independent artist. So this is revolutionary. I want to say shout out to Museum TV for another banger episode. Yeah, you know it. You know it. You've been paying
Right.
attention. Museum TV is so full here at 336 Blue Hill Ave. Shout out to big homies who allow us to use this space and continue to give Boston the culture, the visuals, and the stories that it needs to hear. All right, guys, signing out.
Thank you.